You know where I bet on sports during the holiday season? Hard Rock Bet. Not just because they're the presenting sponsor of our show, but because they make it easy to bet on my favorite teams, players, and leagues with a few simple taps. Especially with their brand new For You page. It recommends picks based on my favorites and who I like to bet on. I open up the app, go to my For You page, find a bet I like, and bam, my bet is placed. That easy. You sign up today and bet $5 on any game. And if it wins, you also score $150 in bonus bets. A winning bet plus an extra $150 to bet with. Now that's spreading some holiday cheer. Plus, Hard Rock Bet fills your stockings with new promos every single day. Download the Hard Rock Bet app today and make your first deposit. What is going on, everybody? I need to apologize. I had some internet issues. Probably cost us about 10 minutes. So thank everyone for waiting. Obviously, we just watched one of the games of the year. Sam Darnold throws a game-winning touchdown pass, which turns into a game-winning two-point conversion to win. And now Seattle comes back from multiple touchdowns, multiple two-pointers. One of the craziest two-pointers you've ever heard. Just a bananas game. Obviously, before we talk any football, you know I need you to subscribe to this channel. So subscribe, like the video, interact down there in the comments, start screaming at each other, share it with your friends. We really, really appreciate you guys for interacting. It's Fugazi Friday. We will dive in to the game we just witnessed, as well as a big announcement that will be coming up after we discuss the game. Good times, big things happening for the podcast. So we will talk about that before we wrap up. So no, we don't have any Fugazi. Today's a happy day. Sam Darnold slayed the demon that was the LA Rams. Matt Stafford almost threw for 500 yards. I mean, I can't imagine throwing for 457 yards, having a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter, which they showed the graphic they never lost, and flying home a loser. Sean McVay had a baby this week. They had a Thursday night game. He's the play caller. I would imagine he slept about 10 hours all week. So we will dive into all that. And again, a big announcement coming up. But before we talk about some football, you know I need to tell you about my friends, my partners, and the official ticketing app of this podcast, GameTime. Best in the business. Doesn't get any better. I've been using them forever. Download the GameTime app. You can go to any football game you want. They got tickets to NFL games as low as $100. They have tickets to college games. They have tickets to any sport, basketball, hockey, concerts, comedy shows. The ticket price you see when you check out is the same price. How often do other ticket sites, when you see a ticket price, you go to check out and they add all the hidden fees? You're like, this is double the price. That is not Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with my friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code JOHN, that's just my name, John, for $20 off. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code JOHN when you check out, get $20 off. Go download the Game Time app today. What a game. I mean, sometimes you're just speechless. I'd be lying if I said I didn't tweet ball game when the Rams went up 30-14. You know, it looked like Sam Darnold was in full meltdown mode. The Cooper Kupp fumble at the end of the first half. You're just thinking they're down multiple scores, multiple two-point conversions. In what world could you overcome 3 turnovers against Matt Stafford, who we'll get into in a minute, has really morphed into his version of, you know, at this point in time in his career, the way he's playing right now, you know, Brady, Manning, Rodgers, like he's just in complete control of the game. Kind of mastered the position relative to his skill set. And when the dust settles, you go into overtime, you get a touchdown, and you still lose. I mean, that is insane. And let's face it, the headline with 10 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter was, how can you trust Sam Darnold? How can Sam Darnold, one, the LA Rams had complete ownership of him. He had thrown, what did he throw? 4 interceptions the last game. He had 2 tonight. Both interceptions tonight. One came on third, I think, an 8, and the other came on third and goal. So in these big must downs, Shula was fooling him. One of the interceptions was carbon copy to what happened to Baker Mayfield last week, where the slot corner fakes being in man coverage, drops in the slot or drops kind of in the flattened zone, picks off like an out route or a comeback route and is sitting right there and picks them off. And then you throw an interception to a defensive lineman, especially when you're struggling. Everyone went, God, this guy's full meltdown mode. And obviously the punt return for Shaheed, which is a big feather in the cap of John Schneider, who I really appreciate both GMs tonight. One guy's wearing a hoodie. The other guy was wearing a backwards hat in the middle of the game. It's like both these franchises are just about football. None of the fluff. They're GM and head coaches, all ball all the time. And that was a classic in a game that, if you're Seattle, I just don't. Let's face it, Sam Darnold did not play well, I thought, for most of the game. And really, before that last drive in overtime, I thought he was bad. Obviously, the interceptions just in a game like this felt like we're going to cost you the game. But sometimes, like, this is a team game, right? And Seattle is not built like the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, Sam Darnold's not Josh Allen, but they don't expect him. They just won a game last week where they kicked, 6 field goals? I mean, they can win other ways. Their defense, at least for 3 quarters tonight, was not, but down the stretch in the fourth quarter, overtime, actually, they gave up a big touchdown as well. Was a little hit or miss, but for the most part, it's pretty good. And obviously the special teams, and they carried them down the stretch because they deserve to lose. But sometimes you don't get what you deserve. And for Sam Darnold on that final drive, where they just score a touchdown, Puka Nacua takes the big touchdown, you're like, how are they going to drive to score? And obviously, if you score in that spot, going for 2 was the right play. What are you going to do? Tie the game, kick it back off, and let them go on a potential field goal drive? Now, granted, the Rams had missed the field goal, but you're not playing to tie. Not in this situation. Short week at home. And he goes 6 of 7. Hits a big pass to Jackson Smith. I would say his career of being a good player this year and last, that throw to Cooper Kupp in overtime was as big of a throw. I think it was 2nd and 8, as you are going to see. Obviously, the touchdown, the 2-point conversion. I mean, a huge thing, you see this during the game, is Sam gets sped up. And I think clearly Shula knows on some of these bigger downs, if he could throw a curveball, Sam rushes, and then he throws it to a spot. And what happened? Both times, he dropped someone in coverage who wasn't supposed to be there. So Sam thinks he's getting one thing and gets something else, and he's basically, dead red on that look, and he's pulling the trigger no matter what. Where the difference, like, you saw a gap tonight in quarterback play. Matt Stafford's playing like, I don't know, the highest level of, I was trying to think of like a high level math, but I didn't really make it past calculus 1, which I kind of cheated even to survive in that thing. But I mean, that's a graduate level in which he's playing quarterback. Sam has the physical skills, but clearly mentally, when he's playing chess, you can fool him. And they have his number fooling him on those plays. But when it mattered the most, in a spot where you're either scoring a touchdown, at minimum, you're tying, you're winning. I guess you're winning or losing, because if they scored a touchdown, they were 100% always going for 2. So you get the ball back, we're going to go for 2 if we score, but it's either we're winning or losing on this drive. I can't have what has been happening throughout this game. Balls batted down. There was one play, I think on the second to last drive, Amazon never showed the replay. It looked like Jackson Smith was open on like, probably a 10-ish yard out route, and Sam wasn't even close. And that happened a couple times tonight. But when they needed him most, he came through. And listen, does he have some flaws? Are you betting on him even after that game? Sometimes winning can Band-Aid an overall experience. Like, would I bet on Seattle to win the Super Bowl? No. But I do think that was a pretty big moment for a guy that, let's face it, if 30-14 kind of holds and they end up losing by 10-plus points when the dust settles, we know what the narrative in the headline is. And I would have been right there beating the drum with everybody. You can't trust this guy in big games. He's an easy guy to root for, right? Yeah, everyone seems like a great guy. What he's done the last couple of years is pretty remarkable when you think about how low his career once was. But like these big games now, multiple Rams game, the Lions game, you just would have been like, how could you trust this guy for this team that's clearly going to go to the playoffs? And the answer would have been you couldn't. Now, just because of one drive, I don't think changes the overall ceiling of a human, but confidence is real. And having positive experiences typically, can build confidence and can help you build on things that maybe you were questioning yourself. Because to me, once they were down 30-14, I mean, let's face it, if they don't get the punt return, they don't win this game. Because when you're down multiple scores, he had just thrown an interception, it felt like his confidence would have been all shattered, even if he's much more mentally tough than he was now. Like, how could you battle back? You get that punt return, though, you immediately get life. You get the 2-pointer, you're down 8. And it goes, God, it kind of feels like you were getting your ass kicked. You're down 8 points. And let's face it, I mean, at the end of the day, the Rams' defense, especially their secondary, isn't exactly the 2000 Ravens or the 85 Bears. Richard Sherman and Earl Thomas ain't walking through that door. But he made plays when he had to. And at the end of the day, they leaned on him in a big spot, down 7, and he came through. And he got the ball to their best players, and they won the game. And for as devastating of a loss as that is for the Rams, and don't get it twisted, we'll get into that in a second, it is bad. That's one where I don't know how you shake. That is a remarkable win for Mike Macdonald and Seattle Seahawks. That feels like one of the biggest wins, I don't know, since like Russell Wilson was in his prime and they would play in just batshit crazy games. Because Russell, I attended one time at a Monday Night Football game against it was Seattle 49ers. It might have been 2019 when the 49ers went to the Super Bowl. And it went to overtime, and Russell just made some of the crazier plays I've ever seen. They had some crazy defensive plays in that game. Seattle used to be like, it felt like under the Russell Wilson regime, like touched by an angel sometimes, some of their games. They were bananas. They were basically the version of the Chargers, but they won the games. And that's what tonight felt like for them at the end. Now, I didn't think they would be touched by the football gods when they were down 16 points. I completely wrote them off. I thought they had no chance. Not because I had full faith in the Rams getting stops, but I just thought that McVay, because even during the game when they were kind of extending their lead, they would go like run, pass and get a first down. They wouldn't just go, hey, we're running it 3 times. If we don't get a first down, whatever. They'd go run, and they had multiple like 3rd and 4s, and then they just trusted Stafford, the kid Xavier Smith, which I'll be honest, I didn't know much about. I had to Google him. Was in college for like 8 years. He's been in the NFL. He got drafted, or he's an undrafted free agent in 2023. He's 28 years old. One of those guys that gets the extra year and an extra year. So all of a sudden you look at his timeline, he's like 2017 to 2023. It's like, that is way too long of a college career. 28-year-old, third-year NFL player. I mean, who's this? Chris Winkie? But he was making big plays tonight. He stepped up, and listen, you're missing Devontae Adams. Like, you're going to need other guys to step up. You can throw it to Puka as much as you want, and they actually did tonight. But Puka had 12 catches for 225 yards. But no one else had more than Mumfield had 3 catches. But a lot of twos, a lot of 3s. Ferguson had 3 catches. Typically that 12 might be like 9 for Puka, and Devontae's getting 6 or 7. But they kind of had to go committee with the rest of the group. And the rest of the group, I thought, came through. And, I mean, the end of the day, like, their defense let them down. And that's the problem with the Rams. Because I do think if these two teams play 10 times, I do think the Rams are better. And I think their differentiating factor is their quarterback. I don't know what this. I didn't look at the odds right when the game ended and walked into the office to record. I would imagine Stafford's still going to be the front runner. I do think he is playing quarterback at the highest level of his career by a mile. When they won the Super Bowl, when they first got him, he threw 41 touchdowns, but he threw 17 interceptions. And I do feel like, and I'm removing the Lions version, just going with McVay. He could be pretty turnover happy. This year he's got 5. And there was one throw tonight that was a little questionable on the outside, but for the most part, he's fucking throwing seeds and getting peppered. I mean, they lose Dotson early in the game. There can't be a tougher guy in the NFL, not named Phillip Rivers, than Matt Stafford. You know, he can't move anymore. He was never a great athlete, but I would say Sam Darnold obviously is a pretty good athlete. I don't even know if Matt Stafford in his prime was that, but he could definitely move. Like, he's a pretty stationary guy, but his command is basically like, and like I said, I'm not comparing his resume to Brady, to Manning, to Rodgers, but when those guys mastered the position, like Rodgers, those couple years where he's winning the MVP with LaFleur, you know, Manning once he got to Denver, and Brady, that kind of the last like 10 years of his career, mentally they just mastered it. That to me is what Stafford feels like at the line of scrimmage. Like, those interceptions that happened to Sam Darnold tonight, they're not happening to Matt because he's not processing the offense that way. He's not going, it's 3rd and 6. We've repped this in practice. I know this route is open 90% of the time. I'm going to hold on to the last. I'm going there. It's not how you can't play quarterback at the highest level in the biggest games like that. So for him to play like this, throw for 457 yards, throw a touchdown in overtime, obviously Puka was a big part of that, took it to the house, and lose, this has been the question mark with the Rams, because it does feel like their offense is better than Seattle's offense. I think we would all agree on that. Over the course of months, the season, you're going to trust Stafford and McVay more than you are Darnold and Kubiak. But like, their defense is a problem. You know, you can't really rely on their secondary. Their defensive line makes big plays. They had a bunch of sacks tonight. But I just think when you can't cover people in a league that is pretty pass happy, and at first there weren't that many possessions. You know, in the first half, Seattle didn't have time of possession on, like, they just didn't possess the ball. I looked up at one point in time, like, I don't feel like Darnold's playing that well. He's like 4 of 6. He barely even attempted anything, like halfway through the second quarter. But as the game went on, the game was kind of going back and forth. And all of a sudden, it puts a lot of pressure on your defensive backs to make plays. Their front and Landman are good. But the secondary, it's hard to trust them. And, at the end of the day, they couldn't get a stop. They couldn't get off the field. And this is a week, that was a game that they win this thing. They get Atlanta next week, and the following week they get the Cardinals. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure they win both those games and are the number 1 seed. Now, Seattle's next 2 games, obviously they finished with the 49ers, but next week off a mini bye, they go to Carolina. So we'll see Carolina play Tampa. Regardless of what happens in that game, that Seattle game is going to be massive for them. Going to Tampa can just be a little weird. I mean, Carolina. We saw the Rams go out there earlier and lose. So I'm not just chalking Seattle to win these next 2. Technically, the 49ers control their own destiny, but are they just going to sweep these last 3 games? You know, we'll see. But man, what a massive win by Mike McDonald. Sam Darnold just kind of shedding that. When someone constantly calls you something and then you kind of live up to it, it was only going to get worse. Now, I understand the more you mature, hell, what I do, it's easier to get off your phone. Some days you realize, like, I didn't even look at social media. And then maybe you're a day late and you see, like, what are these people screaming about? Like, I don't even know what you guys are talking about. There's such a large percentage of human beings that just don't spend that much time on Twitter. So it's like sometimes you lose, like, they're talking about Puka Nacua. I had to Google in the middle of the game. I'm like, what is going on? It's like the last couple of days, it's been run around, help my wife with stuff, moving offices, just haven't been on Twitter. It's like you just kind of lose touch with what the internet's saying. So it's like, I do think that quarterbacks and just NFL players in general, the one reason Kevin Durant's on Twitter and Instagram and social media a lot, get a lot of free time. In football, you really don't, especially as a quarterback. You're just grinding. You're at the office. You're working. You're watching film. You're in meetings. You're on the practice field. You're working out. Like, your weeks are pretty packed. When you hear some of these coaches, not that they don't get information sent to them, but it's pretty easy to avoid stuff. But regardless of if he could avoid it or not, there would have been substance behind. This isn't really this. Something's off here. Like, for all the stats and all the wins, I think, what does he have? 25 wins, which is the most of any quarterback the last 2 years. I mean, you're talking about guys like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Like, Sam Darnold's got more wins than him. But it's like, guy can't win a big game. And then boom, he wins it. And he made big throws on that final drive. It would have been one thing if something weird would have happened, right? Like the 1-2 point conversion. That is a classic Russell Wilson Seattle play. Throws it behind the guy, bounces off the helmet, and his player casually, like, doesn't fall on it like it's a live ball. It'd be like me or you just, I just picked up some trash. I just picked up something on the ground. And then you get credit for the 2-point conversion. That was, sometimes I think announcers can be a little hyperbolic. Like, that's one of the crazier plays ever. That was legitimately one of the craziest plays you've ever seen. It might be the most bananas 2-point conversion you'll ever see, especially given the situation, given the circumstances, given the comeback. And when that moment's happening, I can only imagine McVay, they finished Sunday afternoon, Pacific Standard Time. He goes to the hospital because his wife's already there. I think she delivers either late, like Monday, early in the morning, or might have been 6 a.m. I forget. I wrote down the time somewhere. But so he doesn't sleep, I would imagine, at all, if much, that day. As he's waiting, I'm sure he's trying to watch a little Seattle. Who knows how long he stays there? He's going back and forth all week, probably just popping Adderall and slamming, venti cold brews. But by the time you get to the game, it's like you have the energy. You're probably just wired as humanly possible. You talk about a come down, but who cares? You're up 30-14. You're like, we're going to be the 1 seed. We're going to get Stafford at home, only have to win a couple games. And then all of a sudden, the way it plays out, all of a sudden you're in overtime. And the way it ended, your field goal kicker missed a kick. You kind of went back and forth on some punts. You lost your offensive rhythm. But then you score first in overtime. And you're like, listen, it's been a crazy week. I haven't slept. I might be feeling an Adderall headache right now, but Sam Darnold's going to drive the field and score a touchdown on us. And even if he does, they're probably going to he's going to get a 2-point conversion on us. And that happens. So for as awesome and cool of a win as that was for Seattle, their fans, I mean, that had to be the biggest moment at that stadium in a long, long time. That's a hard one to shake off. That's a really hard one to shake off. I mean, your season by any means, the division is still crazy shit can happen, right? I mean, the Seattle still has 2 tough games, right? At Carolina, like we said, and then the 49ers at home, who beat them early this season. But man, I just don't know how you would sleep, even for a guy that hasn't slept. Yeah, I just don't. And it's not your fault. I mean, you're dialing up how many yards of offense they have. They had, let me pull up the box score here. Let's go team stats. This is great podcasting. They had 457 yards passing and 124 yards rushing. They had 580 yards of offense compared to their 400 yards of offense, which I don't know how long that final drive was, but they were probably in the low 400s, if not the high 300s on the final drive, because they drove the field to score a touchdown. So their offense dominated this game, and their defense dominated the game with turnovers. I mean, 2 massive turnovers. The one in the red zone by Turner that picks it off, the play at the end of half to force Cooper Kupp. And I thought, if you're Cooper Kupp and McVay cuts you, and your team's down 13-7, and you catch this ball over the middle and you're breaking, now you're not going to score or anything, but your team's at minimum is going to score a field goal because your field goal kicker never misses. So it's going to be 13-10 at halftime. You kind of would have some momentum. Who knows? Maybe score a touchdown and take the halftime lead. But you fumble. My heart sank for the guy because I started thinking, if Seattle loses this game, this is a type press conference at the end of the game where you cry because you're so devastated. You feel like you played a huge role in the loss. And he obviously came through with, one of the biggest catches, definitely of a Seattle career in that overtime drive. And he kind of can smile. And like, I made a big play where, listen, Devontae Adams is a better player than Cooper Kupp, and I would have made that same move. And there's no way to cut a guy who's done a lot for you, that's a big part of your team, your culture, a guy that, the front office and the coach drafted and loved, for it to be good, right? Unless you just retire like Kelsey and love everybody, or, the coach and the GM leave, usually you're going to get cut or traded. Kind of happens to everybody. And it clearly got a little ugly with Cooper Kupp. And I thought, man, that sucks. I can't imagine. Put yourself in his situation. Remove football. Someone fires you, someone dumps you, whatever happens because they don't believe in you. And then they replace you with someone everyone in your life would agree, they might not say it to your face, he's better than you. They made the right move. And then you get the opportunity to play that guy for everything on the line. And the guy that he replaced you with is kind of MIA, because in football he's injured. But you get a chance to well, he can't even do anything. I'm going to show his ass up tonight. And that fumble, but he as Jim Carrey, or I guess Jeff Daniels once said, you totally redeem yourself. And he definitely did. Now, no one will even talk about that fumble. No one will even talk about that. What a bananas game. I mean, that was extremely entertaining. It really was. And this is the thing about football in the NFL. When you got two good teams, this is not college. It's pretty rare to see 40-7s. You don't get blood. You're never out of the game. And it just takes one play. It just takes one interception. It just takes one punt return. And let's face it, that punt return flipped the game. That punt return, they were dead in the water. If he just has catches the ball and gets tackled for 5 yards, I think we would all agree there is a 100% chance they lose. Because in the fourth quarter, he throws the pick. This is the end of the third. They score a touchdown. Then they punt. Then the Rams score a touchdown. It's now 30-14. And then Darnold's driving them, throws a pick. So now they're down 16 points. They just intercepted it. And then they forced a punt. And then it all changed right there with him returning it. That was truly wild, man. I'm still kind of at a loss. I can't believe what I just witnessed. But that was fun. And what a win by Mike Macdonald. I mean, that's a pretty big win on his resume. And his defense, when his quarterback was melting like an icicle, in an Arizona summer day, they fucking came through. They were big hits, stuff in the run. Leonard Williams was a beast. His blitz calls were peppering Stafford. I can't even imagine what Matt is going to feel like tomorrow. They hit him over and over. He wasn't sacked tonight, but he was hit just as many times as Darnold, if not more. And maybe, the stats might be a little off. I don't have them right in front of me in terms of the pressures, but Stafford was hit a lot, especially in the second half. Dialing up the pressures. There was one play where Stafford threw an incompletion. They ran a delayed blitz. It looked like maybe a safety up near the box kind of came through. So it had to come a long way. But they have so much team speed on defense that they get close to Matt, and he knew it. He's like, I'm not getting hit. He got rid of the ball fast. It wasn't even close to being a completion. And even Al, listen, love Al, nothing but respect for him, reverence as an all-time GOAT, kind of losing his fastball. Even he could see, had to get rid of that. He did not want to get hit. Don't blame him. He could see him coming out of the corner of his eye. So Mike's a stud, man. In this division, these three coaches, Mike, Kyle, and Sean, and this is big time. And these guys go back and forth, and they got a guy. Sean's his personality is it's massive, right? You feel it when you watch him do press conferences or do interviews. He's a pretty unique cat, right? And I would say, Kyle's definitely pretty, he's kind of ornery during the week. He's kind of like Pops, but he gets into these games. You could see his emotion during the games. I feel like Mike Macdonald, for being a younger guy, is zero emotion. He feels like a friendlier version, a little more in shape, a little taller, better looking than Belichick. Bill just never really showed anything. That's kind of Mike. I'm waiting to see him get pissed off or do something. He is pretty steady Eddie. He really is. And whatever he did take away from Jim and John Harbaugh, their toughness, their physicality, the mental toughness, I've been saying it for a long time, man. If he coached offense instead of defense, we would talk about him the way we do all these offensive young guys. But he coaches defense, and it's not as sexy, but I'm a huge fan. I really am. Props to a friend of the show, John Schneider. Just a massive, massive win. And I don't even know what else to say. what, what a night. What a night. Their combined record was 22-6 coming into this game. I think one thing that you got to give Amazon credit and the league credit for working together uh, is early on in this Thursday night kind of run, it felt like it sucked. I'm talking years ago. You would just get such. Now it feels like, God, the games are so much better. From Thursday night games, I know the Thanksgiving games were not necessarily Amazon, but the Dallas Lions game was a fantastic matchup on paper. And this game, two teams, I mean, playing potentially for the number one overall seed, the division, just a lot on the line, and that was thoroughly enjoyable as just a fan. I mean, obviously, I watched this division probably the closest, but that was really really cool. Speaking of cool, we like I said, no Fugazi Friday today, but we do have a big announcement. For those that might have missed it, there was a press release put out by iHeart a couple days ago, and your boy was kind of near the bottom, tucked at the bottom. You might need some binoculars to see, but listen, we're not complaining because in 2026 we will officially be moving our video to Netflix. So I'm sure you've seen the announcements over the last 24 hours about the Barstool guys going. We will be going as well. So I just overall, I wrote down some stuff that I just want to hit on, but it's a pretty big deal. And, people often ask, like, where do you see yourself? I never would have thought if you would ask me 2 years ago, do you think your videos will be on Netflix? Like, we just started a YouTube channel. And this is why I always say, in what we do, you can never, like, it's impossible to like map out your 5-10 year plan. Like, I kind of live month to month. We spend a lot of effort, a lot of energy, you know, doing these videos, which are also an audio podcast, which we'll get into here in a second. Nothing is going to change there, which is a big reason that we are going into this venture. I mean, I started as a radio guy, as a podcast guy. That's my bread and butter. And still to this day, from a podcast standpoint and a business standpoint, that is where we make the majority of the revenue and get the listenership. Now, the YouTube channel has done really well, especially this season. And that will no longer exist in the sense that our videos will now be hosted. Uh, Again, I don't have specific dates yet. We're still working through. I saw Big Cat Ass said the same thing. But before we dive into the nitty gritty, like, one theme we've had on this show since I've been doing it is any advice I try to give to somebody. It's the way I live my life, and it's really the only way I know how to, I would say, project like a life philosophy, kind of the way to go about your professional life is to not be afraid to take chances. And sometimes when you swing, you're going to miss. It's like a draft pick. It's like dating. It's like anyone in business making business decisions, hiring, acquisitions, choosing to go to Netflix. You never know. There are no guarantees in life beside Uncle Sam sending you a bill and then we're all going to die one day. Right. But I've lived my life going back since I've left college, throughout my football career and now through this career of being really aggressive. And I've been very, very lucky. I've said forever, Coward changed my life. And being associated with them, even I had this podcast before the volume ever existed. Then obviously the volume exists. I go to that, and being run by Jamie Horowitz and Logan Swain and the other executive team, our sales guys. Like, I've been very, very fortunate to be around really, really impressive high level people who, I mean, I'm not tooting my own horn. I do, like, this is business. If I didn't do well, they would have got rid of me and we wouldn't be partnered. But I've done well. They've supported and they've double supported. And they've had my back. They've promoted me in the sense of like pushing the podcast, the sales team. I couldn't have asked for better people, more aspirational people, bigger grinders. I mean, going back to Coward, I've said this forever. Do you know the percentage of people that would have been in his spot 5-6 years ago before we ever started the volume financially crushing it, could have been life on easy street, did not need to start this company, did not need the headache. I mean, I spent the 3 nights with him in Chicago when we did the live thing. Like, doing these things causes more headaches than it is like, oh, fun, all rainbows, bunch of money. Like, no, it's a pain in the ass running a business. Anyone listening to this, I don't care if you run a business with 2 people or 150 people. No, it's hard. You get a lot of people hitting you up. You get a lot of different stuff. You always got to put out fires. You got a lot going on, especially in a business like this. It's very public, and no one has supported me more than him. So for me, like, it wasn't my idea to be like, hey, can I throw my name in the Netflix ring? It just came to me. Hey, would you be interested? And like I said, my first reaction is, yeah, I'm open to talking. Now, I'm not an idiot. Like, at the end of the day, I'm a consumer. And the way I consume, I watch countless podcasts on YouTube. Like, I'm a huge consumer of YouTube. Even if I didn't do this, if I just was John Middlekauff, medical sales rep here in Scottsdale, the amount of content I would watch off YouTube would probably be the same, potentially more, depending on, it'd just be, instead of at my desk, might be in my car driving around, right? So I understand how hard it is being a consumer just to change your habits, because my habit is just watch video podcasts as I'm working, or even if I'm going on a walk. Like, I pay for YouTube Premium, I can just listen to it. So it's like, I was open to the conversation, but we also had to talk through, like, this is pretty risky, right? Now, I think a huge selling point for me is the audio never doesn't change. And the audio, if only audio existed and video never did, we would be running a sustainable business here on 3 and Out. Obviously, the video through YouTube has taken it to the next level. And now going to Netflix, which, again, I'm not doing it for free. Obviously, this is a lucrative venture, but it's also a venture that, like, kind of keep your fingers crossed, hopefully it's going to work. Now, I'm not getting into business with some random company. Like, they know what they're doing. And they're not just going all in. I'll tell you this, when, the initial names came out, I was like, there aren't that many sports people. I feel pretty confident of my crew supporting. And the following day, when Pardon My Take, which is by far the biggest sports podcast that's ever existed, I'm not counting like TV show, radio show, like someone like Colin that doubles that at all. I'm talking a internet podcast. They are by far the highest listened to, and definitely in terms of revenue, no one's even close. And this probably puts them into high 8 figures of revenue. And now they're closer to 9 than they are 7. I mean, they are an absolute cash cow. Rosillo has had one of the biggest podcasts for a long time. So when that got announced, I went, I'm with the right crew. The crew that had this idea to get involved, that got me involved. And I was like, I made the right decision of, like, giving me the thumbs up. Like, I want in. This is a no-brainer. And obviously, we're going to need people to change their consumer habits, because I'm not exactly sure. Like, I still plan on. The other thing is, they're not like, if you would have told me a couple years ago, you're going to be on Netflix, I'd be like, shit, I'm in like a crime drama. They cast me for like one of McConaughey or Adam Sandler's movies. Like, what? God, my career took a turn. I mean, honestly, that would have been what I would have said. Be like, I was in the sheriff of Critter Creek back in 3rd grade. I was actually the sheriff, the lead. And my dad, pretty old school conservative guy, was like, "You're not going into acting." I probably would have had a pretty good career, but I got shot down pretty. Again, the lead, I might have had a future. Not good looking enough, and no hair would have been a problem. Actually, the ball community is going pretty strong in Hollywood now, but the podcast thing, clearly they want all in on, and they're not counting myself at all on this one. They're clearly on the right people. So you just believe in a company that gets it right a lot more than they get it wrong. And as someone over the years, like, I've invested in Netflix, made me a lot of money for a reason. It's popular, it works. And they're going after YouTube now, which, again, this channel's not going away. So, like, we will not host the shows or the reactions, but we still plan on having content. Not exactly sure what that'll look like. We obviously have another channel that is Go Low Golf. That is not going to be associated with Netflix. So I guess they didn't want to see me play golf on Netflix. I mean, that's their loss. but that will be my plan is to make that thing way more active than it's been. I mean, we just started the YouTube feed on that one, I think, toward the end of the year, but it's a massive change and a massive move. Obviously, a lot of positives. Good for everyone that works on my show. That I mean, you see, there are a lot of guys. I mean, you've seen Jackson, but Shane and Adam and James, who's now moved on from us with Joe and Jada, who's also going to Netflix. Uh, Noah, we've have a lot of people. There's a big operation, so making moves like this are just like you can't be afraid to do them. And I know there's going to be some reaction, just like I'm not doing that. And listen, totally understand. If I was in the shoes, like you'd have to get used to it. And hopefully, we've done a good enough job going and doing this podcast. And clearly, we have a pretty strong following that hopefully it works. And I'm fired up. I'm confident like nothing's going to change. So if you want to get what we're doing, that's where you got to go, you know? And I'll be there every day, like I am now, doing these podcasts, and really, really exciting. And sometimes as you get older, I'm not a big celebrate guy. Hate birthdays. As I've gotten older, like I told Maria, I'm like, don't get me anything for Christmas. I do not want anything for Christmas. I'm just not. I don't know. Maybe it's some like emotional trauma from my youth, but this is one of those things that like my dad who passed away years ago. Again, I don't even know if he knew what Netflix was when he died in 2018. He probably wouldn't. Maybe he did because his financial guy might have had him in the stock. But these are type moments that are pretty big. That your family and people around you can kind of celebrate. Like it's a big deal. I mean, there's just no way around it. And it's one of those things like it hasn't really like it doesn't really phase me in the sense of what am I gonna do? Throw a party? We just got to get to work. We got to do a good job. We're gonna get probably more new people see. I thought the way I attacked this and the power of the video. Again, for those of you listening on audio, nothing changes. Literally, nothing changes. They're just think about it like Pat McAfee, the way he does his show on ESPN. They're just licensing the show that I already do. But they plan on just being my same self, talking football, talking whatever's going on, mailbags, life questions, Fugazi Fridays, and the videos will just be on Netflix, where the audio will be on the places they are now. Apple, Spotify. Are there other places you listen to podcasts? Does YouTube have a podcast? All the same places that have podcasts right now, it'll stay. So, yeah, that's a little life update. Other than that, did I miss anything? I did feel, I mean, a little insight into me. Not that I was nervous, like I was ready to go. Like you make full speed decisions, you go. The day after, we basically it was iHeart puts out the release, and iHeart is kind of complicated. We're in business like the volume is in business. Also, we're partners with iHeart, who have been incredible partners for me personally in the sale of the show and done work behind the scenes. Bob Millheiser, who's one of their head sales guy, might be the main sales guy. He's a stud. Known him forever. iHeart's been fucking incredible to me. So it was when they put out the press release, you're like, okay, it's just I gotta. Everyone's gonna be coming to me for football. Like I gotta drive some people there. And when it came out that Big Cat and Rosillo and PFT made me feel like, okay, we got sports people are gonna come, and it's on me to keep doing a good job and entertain you guys and talk football, which I obviously enjoy doing, and reacting to these games. The plan will be, I guess, the exact same. Uh, unless I have a baby on one of the game nights, which I hope. I'm like Stucky, who you'll hear from on the audio here in a minute. On the video will be out tomorrow. He had the baby on NFL Sunday and still was able to watch games. So I think I could see her killing me if I attempted that. But we'll try. Phone, iPad, I'll come equipped. But other than that, just wanted to update everyone for life, what's going on. And this is not a Fugazi. This is real. 3 and Out, John Middlekauff to Netflix. It's happening. Not to be in a crime drama. I'm not a serial killer, so there's not a documentary on. That would have been another thing. Like, did I get in trouble? And they did some documentary on me. Some like podcaster, kills 7. It's like what? Or 50 Cent didn't do a documentary on me. We're just going to do a football show. So yeah, have a good night. Adios.